which can be made public. He'll tell us in a bit what happened when he tried to interest government officials in that idea. Matthew Connelly is professor of international and global history at Columbia University and principal investigator at History Lab, a project that's been funded by the National Science Foundation and now gets support from the National Endowment for the Humanities and others. His new book is The Declassification Engine: What History Reveals About America's Top Secrets. Matthew Connelly, welcome to Fresh Air.
Thank you, Dave. Happy to be here.
Give us a sense of how many classified records we have in the United States and how it's grown in recent years.
But Dave, the real answer is no one really knows. One way of measuring this is, how often government officials decide to classify something. And that is a number. In fact, it's a number that was published every year by the government. When I began my work back in 2012, it was 95 million times. So 3 times every second, some government official somewhere decided to classify something. But more recently, the government has given up on even trying to estimate how many times officials are classifying information. And of course, they're not just stamping documents as secret or top secret. More and more what's classified are things like PowerPoint presentations and spreadsheets and text messages and video conferences and whatnot. So the sheer volume is something we can't even measure anymore in paper as much as we might like to. More and more, what it is that we don't know is what's stored in the cloud, or in some cases deleted and just destroyed completely so that no one will ever know.
Wow. Now, I assume part of the reason for all this is that digital technology simply produces so many records that never existed, 3 decades ago. Emails, text messages, PowerPoint presentations, and what.
Yeah, that's right. Classified information in that way is like other information, right? And we know that information of all kinds has been growing exponentially. But what's different about secret information produced by the government is that nobody's ever going to be allowed to see any of this unless some other determination, as to who has the power to classify information. That's one of the ways in which to look at a huge batch of classified records. And of course, that's not easily done, but sometimes they get leaked. And I'm thinking of when Chelsea Manning leaked about 250,000 State Department cables. How sensitive was the information in that material? Do we know? Well, some of it was incredibly sensitive. I mean, there were the names of people who were confidential informants for American diplomats. There are people who, for example, spoke to Foreign Service officers about human rights abuses in China. There were people who spoke out about things that were happening in their own country, in the Middle East, or what have you. And, in cases like that, some of these people had to flee for their lives, and quite literally. But in fact, if you remember that time when WikiLeaks dumped some 250,000 of these diplomatic cables for a few weeks, there were many stories published in the media, dozens of them. Some of them were quite entertaining. We definitely learned some things about and some of it was embarrassing, right? We found out, for example, how the Gulf states were trying to encourage the United States to go to for the most part, it's rather benign, right? I mean, a lot of what's secret is actually not that secret. And so, when, for example, stories were published in the New York Times and other places, in many cases, the same information was already available, only now they're able to quote from these once secret documents.
I see the Teslas.
Yeah, you see a Tesla in front of us too?
Zooming in.
Zoom it in. There's Teslas everywhere. Not a lot. Look at this ditch. There seems Teslas, to a certain extent, are almost becoming the new BMW driving cars. Look at this. Driving into the